Myanmar is the fruit of many lost lives. Now my question is this. If Christ delays another 200 years, which is just a fraction of a day in His reckoning, that seems long to you, you say, oh, He wouldn't do that. Surely He wouldn't do that. Well, from Him, you say, well, I can't wait 5 more minutes? If that happens, my question is, which of you will have been the dying instrument such that among the 3,500 unreached peoples, some will have 1.9 million adherents to the Church of Jesus Christ because you laid your lives down there? That's a good legacy. Number 4. The pain of Adoniram Judson illustrates the truth that we've been talking about so far. So here I move to biography. Adoniram Judson hated his life in this world. Adoniram Judson was a seed that fell into the ground and died. Adoniram Judson filled up in his own sufferings what was lacking in the afflictions of Christ, where they had never been heard of. And therefore, Adoniram Judson's life bore much fruit. And today, he is alive to enjoy it. And he will be forever. And I think, could he speak right now, he would say, it was worth it. Judson was a Calvinist. Everybody seemed to be a Calvinist in New England in those days. He didn't wear it on his sleeve. The evidence for it you can read in Nettles, By His Grace and for His Glory. His father was a Congregationalist minister. His teacher was Bellamy, who was a student of Jonathan Edwards. Judson inherited a deep belief in the sovereignty of God. And the great importance of stressing that here for me is not primarily soteriological, though it had that function, of course, for the way he understood people getting saved in Burma. But it mainly, in my point here, is that it stabilized him in the midst of incredible and never-ending calamities in his life. Let me read you a beautiful sentence that I hope you all will be able to say. If I had not felt certain that every additional trial was ordered by infinite love and mercy, I could not have survived my accumulated sufferings. There's another reason why I want to build fences around the sovereignty of God. I listen to the people in my church. I listen especially to the suffering people in my church. And I don't know what I would tell them if I could not tell them, this has been ordered by infinite love and mercy, not, he just didn't know this was going to happen. That's something I want to put outside the fence for the sake of my flock, because they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer. This was an unshakable confidence in his wives. He had 3 wives, and it isn't because he was a polygamist. It's because Anne died and Sarah died, and Emily died 3 years after he died. They were all absolutely remarkable. There's a book called The 3 Mrs. Judsons. And if you find it on the web, go ahead and get it, because there's a lot more on them than there is on him, and I'll tell you why later on. Anne, he married February 5, 1812. He left on a boat with her. Mark this. On February 19, that's 14 days later, they're on a boat. She never came home. No, I take that back. She did make one trip. She was 23. They had 3 children. All the children died. The first baby, nameless. They drop in the water between India and Rangoon. The second, Roger Williams Judson, 17 months old, dies. The third, Maria Elizabeth Butterworth Judson, outlives her mother by 2 months or 6 months and dies. Now Anne, who lost 2 children, then died, and her other child died, wrote this after her second child died. Our hearts were bound up with this child. We felt he was our earthly all, our only source of innocent recreation in this heathen land. But God saw it was necessary to remind us of our error and to strip us of our only little all. Oh, may it not be in vain that He has done it. May we so improve it that He will stay His hand and say, it is enough. I preach to produce mothers like that. There are not many around. Most American mothers and fathers get angry at God, and many pastors tell them that's good for them. In other words, his wives and he himself was established by the rock-solid confidence in the sovereignty and goodness of God in all of His calamities. There were roots for this confidence. 1, his father. 2, his Bible. Oh, was he a man of the Bible. 38 years he devoted to translating Old and New Testament. He left a complete translation behind. He translated, that is, he created a Burmese English dictionary that all the missionaries after him were able to use in language learning. He once was approached by a Buddhist teacher who said no way could this gospel be true because no king would ever let his son be treated with so much indignity as you say. God allowed His son to be treated, to which Judson responded, you are not a disciple of Christ. A true disciple inquires not whether a fact is agreeable to his own reason, but whether it is in the book. His pride has not yielded to the divine testimony. Teacher, your pride is still unbroken. Break down your pride and yield to the Word of God. He was a man of the book. The book established him in his confidence in the sovereignty of God. And then there was a third source, remarkable, namely the story of his conversion. It is an absolutely astonishing story. Let me tell it to you. He was brilliant as a little boy. 3 years old, his mother teaches him to read in 1 week so that he has a surprise for his father when he comes home from a trip. He reads a chapter of the Bible at 3 after studying for a week. When he was 16, he went as a sophomore to Brown University and graduated head of his class 3 years later, 1807, same year as the Haystack prayer meeting. Little did his parents know that while he was at Brown, he was losing his faith. He came in contact with a fellow student that blew him away with his intelligence named Jacob Eames, who was a deist. And by the time Adoniram Judson was done with his education, he was no longer a believer, if he ever was a believer. He kept it from his parents all the way through, even delivered his valedictory address in such vague terms they couldn't quite tell what he was saying. And then on his birthday, August 9, 1808, 20th birthday, he broke the news to his parents and broke their hearts and said he was going to New York to learn how to write plays for the theater, and would his daddy give him a horse as part of his inheritance. And his father, through tears, gave it to him and let him go. It wasn't the dream he'd hoped for.